You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hi there, everybody. It's Green Irene, and this is the Fibro Fight series. I'm your host here on the Pace Radio Network. And today, I almost bailed on today's show because I am fighting fibromyalgia. I have been fighting it now for a couple of weeks, an incredulous flare and an amazing component what would you call that in a battle? I guess a competitor, anyway. Basically, my competition is fibromyalgia right now, and I have been fighting so far pharmaceutical free, and I intend to keep it that way because every day I get better and better every day in every way. And that is what this show is about, is helping you learn the tools that you too can use. It takes time, it takes practice, and and just because you have the tools doesn't mean you're fibro free. Trust me. But you can learn to live with fibromyalgia, differently abled, and reduce the number of flares you have, as well as the intensity of a flare when it does arise. Because let's face it, there are plenty of things that are completely and totally out of our control. In particular, weather patterns. And yes, we can say, okay, well, I'm going to move to an area on the planet where the weather is more stable, and hopefully that works. But not all of us have that budget or availability to do that. We're not going to pick up our entire families and our entire lives and move to a different part of the globe, if you will. So, what are some of the things that we can do? Well, as you all know, if you've been paying attention or following the show at all, I use hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, and of course, cannabis. Cannabis has been that wonder weed, that marvelous medical marijuana marvel. Okay. It genuinely has for me. And I say I am as passionate about that as I am, due in large part to the fact that, well, I guess as much as 20 years ago, prior to becoming ill, I was very against the use of cannabis consumption. In fact, I wrote under pseudonyms several articles, one for Family Circle, another for Parenting Magazine. I think I was in a daily journal or two. And it was against the legalization of marijuana, that devil weed that was going to turn everybody into couch potatoes. Well, I'll tell you what did turn me into a couch potato, and that was pharmaceuticals. Over the course of my illness, in the very end, after approximately 10 years of steady frustration, I was taking an estimated 90 to 93 tablets per day. I had pain injection as required, and I wore a fentanyl patch, anywhere from a 75 milligram or microgram to a 100. So you wear that for 72 hours. It's a transdermal patch, not a subdermal. So it goes on top of the skin and it leaches through and goes through. I was, for all intent purposes, a vegetable. I was existing in a pharmaceutical haze. And now I'm not going to go into the details of that story once again. If you are interested, you can find it on my website at fightfibro.ca. You can also find a lot more details because I am merging everything over to the greenirene.ca website. So if you don't find it on Fight Fibro, no worries. It's over on Green Irene. And if you don't find it there, you'll find it on YouTube. If you don't find it on YouTube, you'll find it on Pace Radio. And if you don't find it on Pace Radio, the point is you're going to find my story. It's out there. Just type in Green Irene Fibro Fight and it will appear. It may even be in this feed somewhere. So, and that goes for most of the information that I put out there for your consumption. So I found cannabis, and because at the end of after 10 years and 7 years of living in a wheelchair in a hospital bed and all the rest, I had had enough. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. In fact, I didn't want to live anymore, period. And so the doctors had told me that I had to take my medication or I would surely die. I mean, I couldn't, with the medications that I were on, you could not just stop. I did. It was horrible. I am not suggesting this or proposing this for anybody out there. Do not do it. Okay. Use the proper methodology so you don't screw yourself up. I did screw myself up in some ways that I didn't have to. I hurt myself in ways that I didn't have to. So I don't want you to repeat that experience. I simply didn't know any better at the time and I had given up. So I threw out all of my medications. Over the course of the next week to 2 weeks, I kept using cannabis. I use cannabis in tea. I use cannabis in my soup. I use cannabis as a body wrap. Like I would wrap muslin that was impregnated with cannabis oil around my skin, on my feet, around my ankles, my back, that sort of thing. My potatoes, because that was the only thing I could ingest, would be cannabis. They were green potatoes. I had green cream of wheat. You get the idea. Everything was green, 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 green. And I started to get better. Interestingly enough, I became a little more cognitive. Obviously, I'm not on all those meds. My body, I could start to use it a little bit. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be alive, I might as well do something with this life that I've got for as long as I've got it, because I really didn't expect to be around. After a few more months and I had met my grandson and all that sort of thing, of course I was going to be around for a while. And I started to dream again and I started to live again. All of that being said, it became very important to me to share the information that I had learned and that I continued to learn over that time with each of you. So I do produce a lot of different materials, from print materials to book materials, print to book. Okay, I told you I'm in a fibro fog right now. So I've produced a lot of materials. That's my point. This show is about helping you to learn the tools you can use to help you when you're in a fibro flare. Instead of using pharmaceuticals, it is definitely plants or pot over pills any and every day with me. And because of that, I have a great quality, a very enriched quality of life that I live, and I love to live it. And so these last 26 episodes have been all about fibromyalgia. But do you know what I have learned in the last 5 years of helping you help you? I've learned that there are a lot of chronic illnesses that seriously affect the quality of people's lives, who can also benefit from the therapies of hypnosis, NLP, and cannabis. So starting next week, here's a little insider secret. Starting next week, we're going to be introducing all kinds of other conditions. And we're going to start next week off with attacking arthritis. But for now, let's get back to how do you get through the flare? Because, and any fibro patient out there has heard this, but you don't look sick. Well, guess what? Just because I don't look it doesn't mean I don't feel it. Just because I don't appear to be moaning and groaning and whimpering around does not mean that I don't have the moaning and groaning and whimpering around inside of my body. And fighting that internally is a very tough battle for many. So, what are some of the things that we can do that make these times easier? Of course, I have to tell you, it's planning ahead. It really is. Because flares are inevitable. They're inevitable because of weather changes. They're inevitable because we live in communities with other people. They are inevitable because we step outside of our body. That being said, there are a lot of things that you can do to reduce to reduce exposure to triggers of flares. And we've talked about that again in the last 25 episodes. We've talked about dietary requirements that are, the do's and don'ts for fibro fighters. We have talked about exercise and the need to stretch and do those exercises. And I'm not talking about getting into one of those old fashioned, what was it? Acrobatics, not acrobatics. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about. I hope you know, because I can't think of what the word is. Anyway, I'm not talking about this really high intensity and program. I'm talking about stretching. I'm talking about using those muscles. When that wrist hurts, I like to do simple exercises, putting my hands together like this, but facing me, and I simply give them a little bit of pressure to stretch them out all the way. And then when they're there, I flip them over and I simply pull back. And all that does is give a little bit of stretch in here. I mean, it's not going to tone me up. What it is going to do is keep my muscles fluid, moist. It's going to keep the tendons stretching and moving. Simply doing simple little exercises when you're watching TV. If you're doing the dishes, lifting up and down on your toes a couple of times, giving those stretches, being very conscientious about moving every single muscle in your body. Doing that every day will help prevent flare-ups. It will also help prevent the intensity of a flare-up. So these are some of the physical things you can do. Having cannabis infused baths. You cannot get you cannot get the euphoria. You won't get the euphoria from a hot bath, but muscles will genuinely appreciate the warmth of the water, of course, not to mention the magnesium that they're going to absorb from the bath salts themselves or the magnesium flakes. But those cannabinoids are going to reach through the subdermal and really relax those nerve endings, giving your skin tissue a nice, relaxed, comfortable feel. And as fibro sufferers, we all suffer from that patchy stuff where it pops up and all of a sudden our skin is on fire or it's screaming cold or we've all been there. I myself have been living like that for the last 2 weeks. If it's not one thing, it's another. And that is exhausting. So exhaustion is the biggest thing that you will have to battle in relation to continuing on as a warrior. It is very easy to get tired. And especially when we're fighting these internal battles of the moans and the groans. Having cannabis, mine's not surprisingly, mine is right here. I make this myself. The do-it-yourself recipe is available on my website at greenirene.ca. It's also available on the fightfibro.ca website. It's a quick and easy make your own recipe. There's all kinds on the market that you can buy. I just like to make my own because I like it in extra strength. I don't like anything else in it. It's quick and it's easy for me to do. And I'm able to make little sample packages for my clients and patients when they just simply want to try before they buy, kind of thing. So strongly recommend having cannabis oils on hand. Knowing the strains that you're going to use to help with your physical pains is very important. Again, throughout the last 25 episodes, I've named a number of different strains. I've done strain a day as a blog on the website, identifying the different strains and their cannabinoid profiles. You can tune in to Pace Radio here Wednesdays at noon and learn about combining cannabis with your creative meditations. In other words, a guided hypnotic trance-like meditation, 15 minutes. And prior to that, we talk about cannabis, a specific cannabis. We highlight a strain. So tune in on Wednesday if you haven't already and check it out. It's a really great way. It's kind of like a midweek nap because honestly, those 15 minutes of meditation make you feel like you had a 6-hour nap. I've had people say so. So moving on from that. These are some of the things that we can do to prevent the intensity of a flare-up, as well as, help to reduce the frequency, I guess, is what I'm looking to say there. So these are some of the ways in which we can plan ahead. There's other things. We all have lives to live. So we have responsibilities. And I don't know about you, but as a fibro fighter, when I was sick in the past, and I've learned how to fix this, I used to get this real guilt and shame that, everybody else had to take care of my responsibilities. I was an invalid. I wasn't capable of this and I wasn't capable of that. So I was useless. And you know what that means? All of those negative thoughts, they all turn into depression. And depression is ruminating on the past. Stop it. I strongly recommend rant therapy. And that's reducing automatic negative thinking patterns. Again, you can find the information on greenirene.ca, fightfibro.ca. You can also find it on the Heal Thyself, hypnosis.com. The only website to really truly pay attention to is greenirene.ca, simply because all the others are being merged over. Just a heads up. All right, moving on. So using cannabis, knowing the strains. I also have some exciting news. You're going to see the commercials running pretty soon. In fact, in the second half of our show, I might even share a little sneak peek at something that's very exciting coming. It'll be here this week. Yay. Okay. So some of the other things. So planning ahead, to avoid, and that's what we want to talk about, planning ahead. So avoiding things. So making sure that you treat your body right with spa solutions, making sure that your diet, you're doing the do's and not the don'ts, ensuring that you're getting that stretching and exercising in throughout the day. You're using cannabis-infused spa-based products like cannabis-infused magnesium salts, recipe on the website, cannabis-infused creams, recipe on the website. And although smoking seems to be the most ceremonial way, and yes, even I appreciate my joint often, using a balloon is significantly better, especially when you are battling fibro flares. We don't want that excess coughing. We all suffer from something called, I believe it's called costochondritis, and I could be pronouncing that wrong because I've only ever read the word, but it's an inflammation of the lining around the rib cage. So with the extra coughing that you're doing from smoking a joint, as well as introducing burnt plant material into the lung or that cavity, means you're adding to the inflammation or to the reason for inflammation, right? We want to reduce these things. So I like to balloon a lot during a flare. I have several strains that I genuinely enjoy. Now, just so you know, this balloon has been sitting beside my desk for our entire show so far. I filled it during the commercial, like during the introduction. The cannabinoids in there are still good. They're still strong. They are, because they're released from the plant at optimal temperatures, you use half the amount of weed that you would burn in a joint, which means you're saving. You're also achieving and gleaning from the plant all of its medicinal properties. You are getting those terpenes that you're seeking, like the myrcene and the beta caryophyllene. You're getting the limonene. These words are hard to pronounce. My tongue doesn't want to work right at the moment, but you get the idea. You're getting all of that because you're using optimal temperatures. I love my volcano. They are very expensive. They're to get them into Canada, it's somewhere between $700 and $1,000. Well worth the investment. I've had mine for 5 years, and you treat her right, and she will keep working for you. It comes with extra parts. I just clean mine up often, and she lasts. Look after your shit, it'll last. Now, some of the strains that I really, really do appreciate hugely, I'm going to name right off. I'm going to start with the CBD heavy strains, simply because, well, there are times where we want a complete reduction in the inflammation, but we don't want that whole heady high. And if that is the challenge, there are some really great cultivars out there now, cannabis strains that have been genetically modified, through hybridization as well as in a lab, to reduce the growth or the development of the cannabinoid THC, and genetically modified to increase the production of the CBD molecules. So yes, for all intent purposes, we are playing God with the plant. We are making the plant produce way more of this and much less of that when it grows. However, I have been hearing amazing recommendations. Danny Raspuso, the stoner chef, an absolutely amazing man, doing fantastic. He's over there at St. Miguel in Portugal, and he just found Girl Scout cookies, GMO, genetically modified to be high CBD, and is praising the benefits that he is achieving. So that in and of itself is very exciting. There are natural strains that have not been genetically modified. In particular, consider Harlequin. Not the easiest to get your hands on per se, but it is a fantastic strain. It helps to reduce the inflammation. It gives you a little bit of an uplifting feeling. It kind of makes you feel like the day after recovery. So you're not feeling your optimal self because you've got that whole whooshy thing happening, but you do feel a lot better. So that's the kind of effects I get from Harlequin. Cannatonic, which is easily found at the Ontario Cannabis Store and many, if not all of the legal dispensaries. You can also find it on reservation dispensaries. I know that the Green Room in Roseneath carries it. So Cannatonic is not, I don't know what it sounds like. It almost sounds, wow, pop. But you know what? It's a really nice leveling, healing bud that I genuinely have a great appreciation for. What are some of the other strains that I want to mention? Okay, I think I've said it 100 times if I've ever said it once, and I know I have. Granddaddy Purple is fantastic, but it's a really heavy hitter, and it does have a tendency to kind of make me a little bit sluggish, which is what I want sometimes, but not all the time. So whereas ChemDog just isn't quite enough, but it gives me that reduction in inflammation that I'm looking for. Well, ChemDog and Granddaddy Purple got together and made a baby plant. That baby plant is called Purple Project. Purple Project is an absolutely wonderful strain for fibro fighters, and I recommend it as number one, top of the line. It is THC, definitely. The only two that I've mentioned, or the only three that I've mentioned that are CBD are the Girl Scout cookies, GMO, genetically modified, to be CBD. There's another one that was genetically modified, and that's the Afghani Kush, was also genetically modified. Then you have the natural growing, which is an ACDC, which is a 1-to-1, or the one I recommend, which is Cannatonic or Harlequin, both of which are naturally growing high CBD plants. So now you know what you're doing physically, mentally, emotionally. You got all that shit under control. Now, what about that guilt and shame that I was talking about? We have general responsibilities when we are living life at our fullest capacities, don't we? So planning ahead for those inevitable times is really important. I have a dog. You guys have all met King Wookie. I might be changing his name to Weed Wookie simply because while I was trimming my plants, he had weed everywhere in his fur. And as he walked around, these little cannabis trimmings would be falling off of him. And so it became his jokeable name around here. I have to take Wookie for walks. Wookie has to go out at least twice a day. And he has to go out more than that. But I have family to help me. I just don't want to fully depend and rely on family and friends, correct? We want to be responsible for ourselves. So I am fortunate enough to have a dog walker in the building, and I get to call on her and say, and she's very affordable and very understandable, and she's just beautiful, and the dogs love her, and she loves them. So she will come and pick Wookie up during a fibro flare. All I have to do is send a quick text and say, hey, honey, I need your help. And how's this time and that time? And boom, she's there. And Wookie loves it when she arrives. So she'll take Wookie out for me. This is planning ahead, having those things in place for the whens, for the when and if the time comes. Planning ahead with your family, letting them know that, you know what, I when I go through these flares, so you can do it after the fact. When I go through these flares, these are some of the challenges I had. If it comes up again, any ideas on how you guys can help me? Because let's face it, your family is under a lot of stress. They see you in pain, and there is nothing they can do for you. Telling them how they can help you helps you. Okay. So telling them, I need peace. I need quiet. I need you not to be dependent on my focus because I'm having problems making any thoughts cohesive. Seriously, my friends, I sat yesterday looking at my computer screen and thinking, I don't know. Like, I had no idea why I was in front of the computer screen. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And, it took probably a good 5 minutes before I realized, oh, click on the button and open up your browser and do the activity that you're going to do, right? But it really just brain burp or a brain fart. It farts out, and that's fibro fog. And there's really not a heck of a lot you can do about that except to prepare in advance those that are in your life. So with your family and your friends, make sure that they are aware so that they don't take it personally or individually or offensively. And that saves you a lot of guilt and shame, and it saves you having to do the I forgive you, I forgive me, please forgive me. I forgive you, please forgive me kind of thing. The ho'oponopono concept of peace. Ho'oponopono. It means I forgive you, please forgive me. And that's because we're all human and we all do things that are offensive, or whether we realize it or not, because each and every one of us has a different internalization system. We all generalize differently the information that's coming at us. We all distort that information according to the filter system that we have. And we all delete information because it's not important according to our filter system. And that filter system is created from the moment you are born, and some believe even before you are born, and I believe that as well, but let's make it an easy concept to comprehend at this moment. That's what NLP is. It's like getting through that filter system and saying, does this still work? Like, some of us have created programs in our mind that started when we were children, and they served us very well as children. But now that we're adults, it's something that actually gets in our way. And sometimes we recognize that it's getting in our way, and sometimes we don't. But one of the big important steps in recognizing and self-love is learning how to forgive thyself as well as those who may have hurt you or you feel may have hurt you. On that note, I'm going to come back with some great tools, some great advice, and some more information, and a surprise right after the break. But first, we're going to hear a message from our sponsors.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And we're back. Oop, I guess I should put that back up, right? Okay, we're back. Awesome. So I told you before the break I was going to share a couple of ideas and tools with you. Before we do that, one of the things I did want to share is a very quick video of food and diet. It's something that I made a few years back. But I think I've shared it before, so I may say that to the end. A couple of the other things that I really wanted to share. Unfortunately, Ashley was unable to join me on today's show. She's actually going in doing ceremony today for psychedelics. So for her show. So you all know Ashley Michaud from the Integration Station Sunday show here on the Pace Radio. She has a couple of books out, and this one is very, very interesting. Ashley, remarkably, in spite of my 10 years of being very, very unhealthy, in and out of a wheelchair, not knowing if I was going one day or the next, she didn't go the wrong way. Instead, she had to figure out how to heal. And she really got into reading and learning and understanding about nutrition and hormonal health. And she became a coach, and she did wonderful things with her life. And this is one of her very first books. And you'll notice that I have a few tags in the book because these are parts in which I wanted to share with you. You can find Ashley's book on Be the Change. in here, there's a lot of very valuable information. One of the particular areas is she talks about diet, and I talked about diet a lot. Prior to my illness and prior to becoming a fibro fighter, I had a very poor diet. And part of what led to the intensity of this fibro flare that has had me knocked on my bottom for the last 2 weeks is because for the last year, I have not attended to my diet properly. I have not attended to my exercise routines regularly. I have been under a lot of unnecessary stress, which has reduced and affected the quality of sleep and regeneration that I get, which means my body, I am not a strong soldier when this little beast of fibro, this little effer showed up. I wasn't prepared to fight. And it's as such, I have had a really tough struggle in the battle arena. That doesn't mean I'm not a winner. I am a winner. I am a warrior, and I am walking out of this battle arena as we speak. The days are getting better and better. I get better and better every day in every way. And for the record, that is me using a mantra that I read in a book that was written by Emile Coué. Great philosopher. He used a lot of hypnotism in his work. I believe he may have even been a counselor or a therapist as well. So Emile Coué said, every day in every way, I get better and better. And I twist those words around a lot of times. One of the things when we want to put something in our brain permanently, say it to yourself 3 times or out loud is even better, because then you hear yourself saying it. You hear it in your head and you hear it through your ears. So you're hitting 2 kinesthetics simultaneously, but say it out loud every day. Say it 3 times, 3 different ways. So every day in every way, I am getting better and better. I am getting better and better every day in every way. Every day I am getting better and better in every way. So, when you do that, your brain hears that. And so it's producing the chemicals to make sure that that happens, because that's what it's supposed to do. It takes in the programming. And that's what NLP is all about. Talking to yourself, getting the programming in your brain that runs everything else to operate the way you want it to operate at maximum efficiency. So in Ashley's book, she goes by the seasons. She uses the elements of Mother Nature, which is beautiful. She incorporates a lot of her natural heritage, whether she realizes it or not, during that time. And I believe she does realize it. She another area that I popped off in here, she has some great advice. So I just lost my sticky on I lost it. Where did it go? On diets, healthier diets. So the true alchemy of things. And in here, she really does have some great advice and talk about which foods are good and what they do and how they help benefit us on more levels than just our digestive system. And I think that that is very important when you eat and are eating mindfully, knowing that, hey, I'm putting a little bit of iron into my body right now, and that's going to give me some energy, and then I'm going to blah, blah, and yada, 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 yada. You get the idea, okay? Another great book. This is her most recent book. I haven't had the honor of reading it yet. I just haven't had the time or the faculty. That being said, this is out, and I do believe that Al's already shared this. And I'm pretty sure that she said in here, and just because she always talks about diet, and yes, I'm not surprised. She's talking about gut health in here as well. So make sure you check these books out on Amazon. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. I was hoping she would share some dietary tips and techniques. I know one of her favorite techniques is to crowd out the crap. So if you find that you got food in your diet that really isn't serving you well, but you love it, okay, I'm a salt and sweets junkie, and I know it's okay to have a little treat once in a while, but it's not a good idea to indulge or overindulge. So as such, I think it's very important that we crowd these things out. So I will buy apples, 2 apples and 2 kiwi and 2 orange and 2 banana, and then 2 Reese's Pieces cups, right? That way I get a little bit of all the good stuff and a little bit of the stuff I want. All right, so planning ahead, doing that sort of thing. Goodness gracious. There's there's that brain farting again. We were talking about diet. Oh, here it is. Talking about books. Are you ready? I got something to show you. You're the first to see. Yes, it's ready. So during this time, in the last 2 weeks, while I have been out of commission, for lack of a better term, just physically, I am struggling with the bone bone sensitivity and that sort of thing. So my back, my hip, my ankle, my head, my wah. None of you tuned in to listen to me whine, but you know what? It does happen. So I'm telling you, soak in a cannabis infused bath. Make sure you have cannabis tea. This is not cannabis tea. This happens to be regular coffee, but it's sweetened with cannabis infused honey. Yes, I infuse my body exponentially when I'm going through a flare or fighting a flare. And I think that's very important. We need the extra soldiers. If you look at your body and this fight with fibro as an actual battle, and in my head, I see it as those good old days like the 600. I don't know if any of you ever saw that movie. I don't even know if it's called the 600. But anyway, Marcus Aurelio, King Arthur. I mean, I digress. My point is, have these battle strategies planned ahead because you are going to war. Your body is beating you up, and you can win this war easily and almost effortlessly if you are prepared. Being prepared means mind, body, spirit, all in balance. How do we do that? We do it through diet. We do it through exercise. We do it through natural therapies. Yes, cannabis is a medicine, but it is it's a therapy. How you use it is therapeutic, right? Because it's medicine, but it's also a recreational vice. So how you use it is a therapy. There are plenty of methods of consumption, and if you go and check out the Info is Power series, which will be available and live this week on Amazon, there is a book in there called Bud Basics, and I talk a little bit about the basics of bud. If you are a newcomer or a newbie, new to using cannabis, or maybe not even using cannabis yet, maybe you're just considering it because you've heard so many other fibro fighters telling you that, hey, this stuff works. If you're an arthritis sufferer, be sure to tune in next week. I've got a wonderful show prepared for you about attacking arthritis. And the week after that, we've got something even more exciting. So we're going to start looking at all the different conditions that cannabis, hypnosis, and NLP can really benefit you, so that you can help you to heal naturally. There's other methodologies that come into play. There are all kinds of other natural medicines and natural therapies. We talk about meditation. We talk about acupuncture. We'll talk a little bit about things like infrared and how that really helps with things like depression and anxiety. When it comes to anxiety, many chronically ill patients feel that there's no help or hope. And I understand anxiety as well as anybody else who suffers from it, simply because I have experienced it on different levels throughout most of my life. Now, in recent years, my anxiety pretty much came from having been isolated and in a hospital bed for almost 7 years, right? 7 out of 10 years, in and out of a wheelchair, not having a lot of social interaction, being pharmaceutically in a haze. When all of a sudden I re-entered the real world, no pharmaceuticals. 10 years had passed and life was very, very different. I had a lot of anxiety. I suffered panic attacks constantly. I was terrified to go into stores. I was mortified if somebody spoke to me and I didn't know how to speak back. I was scared that maybe if I spoke back that my face would go all garbly gook like it did when I'd have a spasm in my face, a couple of years before. So there was all kinds of fluff and issue running around there. What I did to begin, now in the beginning it wasn't so easy, but I started with self-hypnosis. And in hypnosis, combining the NLP techniques of mapping over images really genuinely helps. I was talking about an example the other night when I was speaking with some people. Okay, so let's talk about assumptions. How often we make assumptions, and especially when we're ill, because our brain is we've got different chemical. When we're fighting pain, when we're fighting anxiety, when we're fighting fatigue, when we're fighting stress, when we're dealing with all of that, our brains are producing an incredible cocktail of interesting molecules. And those molecules are making us interpret things quite differently than we would if we were in a healthy, happy state. Okay? It's all in our state, how we generalize, delete, and distort. So, when you are in that state of anxiety, having a tool that you can, extricate yourself out of that bubble for a minute, look back and get to where you need to be. One of the first things I tell everybody, and because it works for me, and that's if you are like stuck, stop. And open your eyes. And after 3 deep breaths, everything always looks different. It just does. Colors look brighter. Sounds are more vivid. You get the idea. So that's step 1. And that's exactly what we do to either prevent the anxiety attack from elevating or to reduce the potential of an anxiety attack onset. Now that I've said that, that's just one physical thing that you can do for an anxiety attack. There are plenty of things, like I was saying, with mapping over in a state of hypnosis. I often make assumptions of, and I used to do this a lot. Going into the store in the wheelchair was very frightening to me and embarrassing and humiliating. So I would get very, very anxious and stopped going to the stores. After I got out of the wheelchair, I was scared to go into the store because what if they remembered me being in the wheelchair? What if this? What if that? What if this? Anxiety comes from worry about the future. Depression comes from thoughts of the past or regrets of the past. So since we're looking at the future, it's imaginary anyway because it hasn't happened, right? And since it hasn't happened yet, and it's imaginary, well, you can imagine it differently. And you can do that with hypnosis. So instead of assuming that blah, blah, blah is going to happen and all this bad stuff and starting to get all anxious and about it, what I do instead is I create an image in my head, like a little movie, like a little commercial, and it runs through my head of me going into that store. And if it starts to be bad, if that picture, if I can't get a good picture in there, what I do is I take another picture of something where I made a decision that this is how it was. And then I found out that it wasn't like that at all. And I found a way that makes me giggle. So I will use there's a song called Stuck on You, and it's by oh my God, I can't even think. It's a country song anyway, and it's called Stuck on You. Stuck like glue. Okay, stuck like glue, stuck on you, something like that. And it's this video, this little blonde girl, and it's when I heard the lyrics, I kept thinking, wow, it's such a love song, and it's so cutesy and fun and fluffy and yay. And then I saw the video. She's a stalker. She's stalking this guy. It was hilarious. So every time I start to make an assumption that, you know what, I'm going to go in there and they're just going to be assholes and I don't have the energy to deal with this. And then I'm going to end up having that happen and blah, blah, blah. And see where that train of thought's going? I grab that. I catch it right away. And then as soon as I hear, and then this is gonna happen, as soon as I hear myself talking about the future and I realize that I'm getting upset about something that hasn't even happened yet, I grab that picture and I pull that over and I put it right on top and I blend those two. So almost like I'm watching two movies at the same time until it doesn't make any sense at all. And by the time I'm done giggling or trying to get these things to blend, trying to make it work in my head, the anxiety is past. I'm already in the store. And usually there's a couple of things in my cart because all of that can happen inside of your head in a matter of a couple of seconds. It's wonderful. Just remember to take those 3 deep breaths. So important, so valuable, so mattersome. If you want to find the right strain that's going to work for you, I've got 2 things that are really exciting. One of them is the Fight Fibro series program, which will be available in, it might be available now. I don't know if enrollment's open yet again. Anyhow, it should be within the next week or 2, and that is the Fight Fibro Green and Clean with Green Irene. It is a self-guided program as well as with some coaching integration into it. I'm really hoping that you will take a peek at that. You'll find it at fightfibro.ca. In addition to all of that, there is also coming up the new book that I announced. It is really exciting. While I was in this fibro flare, it was very difficult to get out of bed. My brain's not really working all that great. So I had this book entirely written since May. Unfortunately, I simply haven't had the time to sit down and do the tedious task of formatting it, because formatting a book is really a pain in the ass. So since I'm laid up anyway, I can't think straight. All I can do is really just do tedious tasks that my brain doesn't have to think about or focus on. So guess what I got finished? I got the book formatted. It is available. It is a cannabis consumption companion. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's about this size, but thicker. So actually more like the size of this. Okay. Just to give you an idea. And so there is a journal log in there that looks like, let me show you, and it should be live any day now. I'm just waiting for Amazon to finish reviewing, and we're golden. But the journal guide kind of looks like that. So there you can keep track of what weed you got, how you consumed it, what effects did it have, how much THC, what were the terpenes in it. And down the road, you can look back and say, hey, last time I felt like this, oh shit, it was Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookies really helped. And you can ask your bud tender. Hey, bud tender, you got any of those Girl Scout cookies? Because they really helped the last time when I was suffering from this lower back pain. Or you might be looking for, maybe you consumed it as a tincture and you soaked your feet in it, and that really helped with those falling arches. Whatever it is, you can keep track of it. And in there, there's also a whole lot of other information about other stuff, as well as some of our sponsors and some advertisers, people who can help you. I'm looking to see. I was kind of hoping I'd have a couple people join me today. Hello, Tia. It's wonderful to see you. If there's anybody out there that has any questions or comments about upcoming shows, some suggestions perhaps, because I can give you a lineup. I can give you the list of titles if you want to know what's coming up in the near future, the things I'm going to be talking about. But I can tell you for sure, I am going to be dealing with arthritis on more than one occasion, because there are a lot of different types of arthritis. There's junior arthritis. There is osteoarthritis. There's rheumatoid arthritis. And then there is arthritic pain that is common to conditions like gout, fibromyalgia, so on and so forth. Multiple sclerosis, the list goes on. I'm going to be talking about those beastly bowels that we all have to battle, because you know what? As much as I hate talking about such a, all puns intended, shitty subject, the queen of puns. I'm not her, but I love them. It's a tough subject to talk about, but we do talk about it, and it needs to be talked about it, because if we're not eliminating properly, our bodies are not in a healing state. And if our bodies aren't in a healing state, all the efforts we employ may be for naught. And let's not do that to you or to me in any way, shape, or form. Beastly bowels. We're going to be talking about the digestive system. We're going to be talking about how to use cannabis to influence your diet positively, and how to reduce the negatives that are in your diet while getting all of the amazing nutritional value that you can glean from this amazing plant. We're going to talk a little bit about things like a GERD, for example, which is really an awful reuptake. It's like a burping thing, and it has everything to do with the digestive. We're going to talk a little bit about lupus. We're going to talk about irritable bowel disease versus irritable bowel syndrome. We're going to talk a little bit about a number of things. Tune in next week to the It won't be the Fibro Fight series next week. Next week, it's Green Irene's Battle Strategies. Green Irene's Battle Strategies. Green Irene's BS. All right. Green Irene's Battle Strategies. See y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in today and being here. On that note, I am out saying be happy, get healthy, and stay strong. You're worth it.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.